This is not motivation. This is not confidence coaching. This is a psychological mechanism. Most professionals only discuss in restricted rooms. Because once you understand it, you stop seeing people as unpredictable and start seeing patterns. If you continue, you'll understand why this knowledge was never meant to be public, and why hidden mind theory gives you leverage most people never develop. Inside the human mind exists a force more powerful than logic, emotion, or ethics combined. It governs attraction, loyalty, fear, ego, conflict, and self-worth. Entire political systems depend on it. Corporations design campaigns around it. Powerful individuals quietly exploit it. That force is identity. Not who you truly are, but who you believe you are. And more importantly, who you're terrified of no longer being. Here's the truth rarely spoken. Change someone's identity slightly, and everything else follows. This is why psychologists hesitate to teach what you're about to learn, because it moves from observation into control. And control, when invisible, is dangerous. Why this knowledge was hidden? Because this technique blurs the line between influence and manipulation. It can fracture self-image. It grants an unfair advantage in emotional and social conflict. It can be used to reshape people without resistance. And yet, the world already uses it. Politicians, marketers, leaders, manipulators. The only difference? You were never shown how it works. Until now. Identity mirroring. The intelligence professionals. Avoid identity mirroring is one of the most controversial tools in behavioral psychology. It allows you to align with someone's self-image, predict their behavior, and guide their decisions, while appearing completely natural. Here's how hidden mind theory breaks it down. Phase 1. Detect the identity. They protect. Every person lives by a hidden label. I'm logical. I'm strong. I'm different. I'm independent. I'm emotionally controlled. I don't care what others think. I'm intelligent. People will defend these identities at any cost. Time, money, relationships, stability. This is the entry point. Phase 2. Reflect, don't praise. This is not flattery. Flattery triggers suspicion. Mirroring triggers alignment. It sounds like, you don't seem like someone who reacts emotionally. You strike me as someone who thinks deeper than most. You look like someone who stays calm when others panic. You didn't compliment them. You recognize them. Recognition hits deeper than praise. Their nervous system relaxes. Their guard drops because they feel seen. Phase 3. Watch behavior. Shift automatically. This is where it becomes dangerous. Once you reflect an identity, the person unconsciously adjusts their behavior to remain consistent with it, even if it was never true to begin with. Tell someone, you seem like a long-term thinker. Suddenly, they slow down. They become strategic. They act patient because identity controls emotion. Identity controls impulse. Identity controls logic. At this point, you're no longer reacting. You're predicting. What this does to your intelligence. Using identity mirroring through hidden mind theory changes you in 3 ways. First, predictive awareness. People stop confusing you. You see emotional reactions before they surface. You recognize manipulation instantly. Second, strategic control. You stop responding emotionally. You start choosing psychological angles. This is how negotiators dominate quietly. Third, emotional detachment. You stop taking things personally. You stop being intimidated. You stop losing control. Most people drown in emotion. You observe it. That calm alone makes you appear sharper, more composed, more dangerous. Why experts fear this technique? Not because it fails, because it works too well. You start seeing insecurities immediately. You notice cracks in confidence. You recognize dependency forming. If you're not grounded, you risk losing yourself. You become adaptable to everyone. People may bond to you rapidly. Feeling understood creates attachment. Socially, you become untouchable. Arguments collapse. Manipulators retreat. Insecure minds avoid you. You become unreadable. And that level of psychological power terrifies professionals. The final warning: hidden mind theory. This tool changes everything: arguments, persuasion, relationships, business, self growth. But once you realize how easily identity controls behavior, temptation appears to guide outcomes, to shape people, to influence without detection. This knowledge can make you intelligent. It can make you powerful. It can make you unstoppable. But it can also make you someone you don't recognize. Use it consciously. Use it responsibly. Because once you understand the mind, there's no going back. Dangro. If you want hidden mind theory to unlock the next forbid, the silent leverage. If you understood part one, you already know this truth. People don't act based on facts. They act to protect the version of themselves they believe in. Now, in part two, hidden mind theory exposes what happens after identity mirroring works and how identity can be locked, redirected, or broken. Because mirroring is only the entry point. The real power begins next. The identity lock effect. Once someone accepts an identity reflection, their brain enters what psychologists call a consistency loop. They must act in ways that confirm, I am who you think I am. This creates internal pressure. They don't comply because you told them to. They comply because not complying threatens their self-image. This is why people defend bad decisions, stay in toxic relationships, double down on wrong beliefs. Identity always wins over logic. And if you understand this, you gain leverage without confrontation. The invisible steering technique. Here's the part professionals never explain publicly. Once identity is mirrored, you can guide behavior by attaching actions to identity. Not commands, not requests. Identity alignment. Instead of saying, you should calm down, you say, you don't seem like someone who loses control under pressure. Instead of, think carefully, you say, you strike me as someone who thinks long term. Now the action is no longer your idea, it's who they are, and people will protect identity harder than they protect comfort. Why resistance disappears. Most resistance isn't disagreement, it's identity defense. When someone resists you, they're really saying, this threatens how I see myself. Once you mirror identity correctly, resistance collapses. They stop arguing, they start justifying. And justification means you've already won. The dark side, identity fracture. This is where hidden mind theory becomes dangerous. If identity can be strengthened, it can also be destabilized by subtly questioning consistency. Phrases like, that doesn't sound like you. I thought you were more decisive than that. You usually think deeper than this. These statements create internal conflict. The mind panics when identity cracks, and most people will rush to repair it by changing behavior. This is emotional leverage. Used ethically, it helps people grow. Used maliciously, it controls them. This is why psychologists fear teaching it. Why high-status people feel untouchable. Ever noticed how powerful people rarely explain themselves? Because explanation signals uncertainty. They operate from identity certainty. They don't argue facts. They project self-definition. When someone challenges them, they don't react emotionally. They remain aligned with who they are, and others adjust automatically. That's not confidence, that's identity dominance. How this changes you permanently. Once you understand identity mechanics, you stop taking insults personally, you stop reacting impulsively, you stop needing validation, you stop being emotionally pulled. You observe identity clashes instead of participating in them. Most people fight words. You watch beliefs collide. That awareness alone makes you dangerous. The final warning, Part 2. Identity control is not power you turn off. Once you see it, you'll notice why arguments escalate, why people cling to labels, why logic fails in debates, why emotions override reason. You'll also notice something uncomfortable, how easily people can be guided. And the real test begins there, because intelligence, without discipline, becomes manipulation. Hidden mind. Theory doesn't teach domination, it teaches awareness. What you do with it decides who you become.